Imagine you're a middle-aged Mexican woman who has lived in the US for 3 decades. You're standing in line at the post office. For the ordinary person, it would seem average. Some would say even boring. But to you, your body's on edge and even on the peak of a nervous breakdown. The reason for this sudden anxiety is that you are afraid that the person at the counter will only speak English, which you yourself are unable to do and can barely understand. For Dolores Rangel, an immigrant that left Mexico around 1983, this was an all too familiar feeling that happened on a day to day basis. Longing to communicate better with people and sick of this horrible reality, she began taking classes at Unlimited Potential, a nonprofit group located in South Phoenix. Rangel is one of many thousands of people in Arizona that speak limited English. Just imagine what a relief she would have had if English was required when becoming a citizen. She goes on to say that I feel like I've learned a lot in just 1 year, and even confides in Huffington Post saying, I feel more confident now. For this reason, my thesis is the requirement of English language for immigrants who wish to live or become a citizen of the United States. The progression of English requirement has always been an issue in our society. The problem came to light around the late 1970s, early 1980s. The issue has escalated, though, severely these past few years since previous ones. For instance, a 2009 report by the Lexington Institution found that 59% of U.S. elementary children who are limited English proficient, or LEP, were born to immigrant parents. Also, in New Jersey, two-thirds of the state's English learners relied on foreign language services to meet high school standards. A report released by the Migration Policy Institution showed that there was an estimated 582,900 people, nearly 10% of Arizona's population, fell into the limited English ability in 2011. That number has increased from 276,000 since 1990. The effects of not permitting the requirement of English for immigrants would be severe. Right now, immigrants are only required to pass 1/3 of the time on the test of English as a foreign language test, meaning immigrants have a limited understanding of the American language. Official pardon without English raises language isolation and injures the upward suppleness of non English speaking immigrants. Also, in 2011, census stated that non-English speaking in the home had tripled since 1981. Failing to learn the language would also hurt the ability to be involved into the American life and would cripple their chances at the American dream. Sadly, a life without English leads to a life of low-skilled and low-paying jobs. A study of Chinese and Mexican immigrants ages 25 and older who came to the US for reasons other than school discovered that immigrants who are working in similar ethnic backgrounds tend to speak in their own native tongues rather than learning to speak English. This was said by Purdue agricultural economics Bridget Waldorf and Raymond Florax with three research collaborators. Waldorf and Florax continue on saying failing to know English hurts an immigrant's ability to integrate into American society and could limit their occupational opportunities. Another Purdue study, which was stated living and working in ethnic enclaves English language proficiency of immigrants in U.S. metropolitan areas, showed how the residential and the occupational segregation was affected, and the effects of living with family members who did speak English were onto the immigrants. This study used the census data for resources and indicated that while 32% growth between 2010 and 2000 and 2010 came from immigrants, the proportions of English-speaking immigrants has declined from 85% in 1900 to 71% in 2010. The study also found that immigrants who have higher levels of education and job skills were more likely to speak English. As well as living with people who do speak English, this would influence them to have a somewhat conversational English skill. Waldorf later indicates that learning English does not mean you forget your culture or even your own language. You can keep your culture and still be American. It's not one or the other. As you can see, having English as a requirement for immigrants is a real issue in today's society that should be resolved resoundingly. To sum everything up, I feel that Ernest Istook explains it perfectly from an immigrant's point of view. He states that my father was the son of immigrants, and he grew up bilingual, but English is what my father taught me, and what he spoke to me. America's strength is not our diversity, it is our ability to unite around a whole principles even when we come from different backgrounds. Meaning, solving this mere step to accomplish strong, deep roots together as a whole is just what this United States needs.